Hey fellas, I'm a little bit tired. We had tornadoes and storms roll through here last night, and my wife got me up a couple times. And her and the kids went down the basement, and I went back to bed. But I didn't sleep too well, so I'm a little bit sleepy. Anyway, this is a my second build of the 1/32 scale HK models B-25. Is it a J? B-25 J Mitchell? I don't know. The B-25. It's the glass nose version, but we're going to be painting over the glass, which is kind of cool. But anyway, I built this kit a little over a year ago. It was one of my first YouTube videos, and really enjoyed it. I really like how it turned out. And one of the guys I build planes for, I told him that I kind of want to build it again, and he offered to buy it. And so I got together with him, and we've decided what we want to do with it, and I'm going to build it and send it to him. So let's take a look at what we're doing with it. All right, the owner wanted a plane done up as if it were in the 345th Bomb Group in the 499th Bomb Squadron, excuse me, called the Bats Out of Hell. And what they've done here is they ended up painting over the nose glass of their B-25s, and they added some extra guns in the front. So that's what we're going to do. And but we're not going to build a specific plane. We've come up with our own little fictitious plane that we're going to build, and we've already named it. And I'm not going to say it now, but you'll get to see what we named it at the end. And it's kind of funny, and it's I will say I will take credit for the name, and the owner ended up liking it, so that's what we're sticking with. But anyway, he sent me these decals, and they're Eagle. I don't know that I've ever used them before, so I don't know how well they're going to do. But I'm not going to use the bats that he sent me, just because trying to mask over and repaint a name over decals, it just doesn't work out. You'll end up lifting the decals. But I will use some of these other ones, probably the shark's teeth or bat's teeth. And I don't know, we'll see how those work out. If not, I can probably paint those on as well. So that's what we're going to do. We may also add some of these other decals on here that he sent me, some of these little guys. It might be kind of neat. So we're going to have a lot of leeway in how we do this, and it should be a pretty fun build. So let's take a look at what I've been doing. Okay, one of the things that I want to take care of early are the landing gear, because you have to put the landing gear in, the front ones and actually the rear landing gear in before you close up the fuselage halves. Now the rear landing gear you have to put in before you put the engine compartment on, or whatever you call this thing, but you have to put that in first before you close that up. Kind of goes in like that. Kind of got to finagle it in there. Now, if you've watched my previous one, I didn't put the landing gear in because I was going to, and then I found out that you have to put a ton of nose weight. I believe it's probably around 200 grams is what I've heard of nose weight in the front. Now, let's take a look at a couple different landing gear that we have. Now, this is the front landing gear, and as you can see, this has a lot of give to it. And from my experience with the last build, this is not going to support 200 grams of nose weight plus the weight of the kit, which is pretty heavy and pretty big in and of itself. This might be able to take it, the main part, but this definitely will bend and possibly break. The rear landing gear is not quite as bad, but it's still pretty pliable. Now, what you can do is you can go out and get white metal landing gear. Now, this isn't for this kit. This was for my B-1 bomber, which I ended up not using because the parts were all messed up. But if you've ever dealt with white metal landing gear, I despise them. I don't like it. They usually come in a fashion that need a lot of cleanup. They're usually poorly molded. They're bent out of shape, and they bend easily. I mean, I can just bend and break this. This is it's as far as I'm concerned, it's not much better than the plastic ones, and it's going to cause you a lot more cleanup. Now, white metal landing gear will probably support this, I would guess. I don't know. I haven't actually seen the ones for this kit, but in this spot right here, I would think that the white metal landing gear would still bend when you put all that weight in it. So what I've done is I've got these G-Factor landing gear. Now this isn't white metal, it's more of a solid, I don't really know what it is, but I don't think it's aluminum, some kind of, I don't know what it is, but it's a lot harder and a lot stiffer. And you don't need to clean it up as much. I mean, there's still some areas where it's gonna need some cleanup, and right here on the end, I'm gonna have to take that out to my grinder in the garage and grind this little point where they, I guess, molded it. But it's kind of like a attachment point that needs to be ground off. Now, if you compare this with the kit landing gear, they look pretty darn similar. I mean, they're basically, it's like they took the mold of this and made the steel part out of it. I don't see any differences in it. So the quality of the mold of this metal gear compared to the kit part is pretty much spot on. And again, you're going to still need to do some cleanup on it, but a lot better option in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't put it on the plane yet, but there is no give in this front landing gear part, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Now, you are going to have to attach some plastic pieces on here on the front landing gear, like this little doohickey right here, and some parts on the other one. So you have to super glue those. But the main supporting structure is going to be all metal, and I think this is going to work out pretty good. So I've also bought the brass and resin wheels, and these are outstanding. I still need to do some cleanup and cut the other parts off and get those in here, but these look like really good tires. I did do a little bit of cleanup down here. I still got some more to do, but in the tread, and I'll probably come back. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more sanding, but I can just come back with a razor saw and clean up these lines for the tread. So that's where I'm at on the landing gear. Okay, I've got my front nose compartment together, and as you can see, it's filled with weights. There's no, obviously because we're painting the front of the nose glass here on the front, there's no need to outfit any of these stuff on the inside. So I'm using this to hold my nose weight, and I went ahead and drilled 2 extra holes for 2 extra gun barrels that we're going to be sticking in the front. And then I took some epoxy sculpt, put it in there, and while it was wet, I inserted the barrels and got them pretty much aligned. There is a little bit of give. I had so I didn't have to force the gun barrels in because they are resin. I wanted to be able to fit in there nice and easy so they wouldn't break. And so there is a little bit of a give. The owner will probably have to glue them in once he gets them aligned properly, but that should work out pretty well. Now the nose weight, I got these at Harbor Freight in the auto parts section, and they're tire balancing weights, and they come in like packs of like 40 or 50 maybe, and they're pretty inexpensive, but then they've got the amount of weight in grams and ounces on each one. So those really do come in handy. From the instructions, it says to put 80 grams of nose weight, and I can tell you from experience that's not nearly enough. From what I've read online, somewhere close to 200 grams, or 7 to 7.5 ounces, some people say. So, but they are putting it in a compartment a little bit farther back, right above the landing gear. And with this, I think I'm able to get away with it because I'm having it a little bit farther forward. And I've test fitted, and I'll show you a picture at the end. It does actually work. This is, I believe, 5.7 ounces, or like 150 grams. So we got grams on here. It's 153 grams. Or 5.6 ounces. So, you know, it's a little less than what I've seen online, but I think because it is farther forward that I'm able to get away with it. And, you know, it's just it's a heavy chunk. I don't think I'll have any issues with it attaching, because there is going to be a little lip that this attaches to, and with some Tamiya extra thin all the way around, that's going to be a lot of surface area. So hopefully that's not going to break off. I think I should be good, but you know, we'll see. I will test fit and make sure once I get all the parts on the inside of the plane and the fuselage has together, I will make sure that that everything it sits down where it's supposed to be. One other thing that I found that's a kind of an issue with this kit is the wings are a dry fit, and they've got these little notches in here, and I don't know if we can see it. And if you've watched my other videos, you kind of see how this works. I did take a file and just filed a hair off of here and on the sides of the fuselage, but it was still kind of tight, and I was afraid to go too far because I didn't want the wings sagging. So what I've done, or what I plan to do, and I've kind of tried it right now, or a little bit before I start the video, is this super lube. I use it for my airbrush needles, and it shouldn't affect the plastic. It doesn't have any silicone in it. It doesn't have any like harsh petroleum products that would degrade the plastic, from what I understand. So I put a little bit of that on there, and it makes it much easier to put the wings back on, and they just pop on and off. Now I'm gonna clean all this off that I've experimented with, because your paint isn't gonna stick to it. But I think once I'm done, I'll put a little bit of lube on there, and the guy that gets it, once he gets it, can take the wings on and off a lot easier, and that's going to be a real big help. So solve that issue. Let's take a look at some of the other things that I've been working on. So I tackled all the wings, all the flaps and ailerons and all that stuff. You don't really need to clean up the seam lines along here, because it's going to be it's not going to be seen. But right along the edges, I did have to use a little bit of my CA glue and metallic pigment. We can see there, just to clean up some of that. And I did that along all the wings. I kind of went over each one and got all the seams on those taken care of. The wings, I went ahead and took care of the seam lines along here. Still a little bit I need to do, but I'm still going to have to put the engine covers, or these little doohickeys on here. So there is going to be a little bit more seam work along the wing, leading edge of the wing, right along here. So I am going to have to still take care of that. So whatever issues that come along with that, it shouldn't be too bad. But when you get these little areas along here that need to be filled, they're kind of a pain in the butt. But still need to take care of that. Where the landing lights were, I lost the clear part that goes in there, which really didn't look very good anyway. So I ended up just filling that in, and then I'll take some of my UV light glue, and then I'll make a little light after I get everything painted, and then we'll paint those red and green. These lights right here, those I used after I put the wing all together. I painted the inside black, and then there's another clear piece that goes in there to act as a light, and I took some chrome, what do you call that stuff? I don't know, for some reason when I get on video I lose my mind. Bare metal foil, and I cut out circular pieces with my Cricut to make kind of the reflective area around the light, and then I glued that in. These don't fit in real well. I ended up using some Tamiya extra thin to get the clear covers in, and then I used my Tester's window glue and went around and filled in the areas where there's a little bit of gap, and then I'll just mask this off, and that should be good to go. The Bombay went together pretty easily. I just kind of took it slow. And one thing that I did here is I put magnets. I found out with doing the previous B-25 and my B-17 that the bombs just don't attach real well to these little doohickeys, and it's kind of a pain in the butt when they come loose. That it's a pain trying to get the bombs glued back up in there. So what I've done is I've just attached magnets to these so these can come in and out. And then I've got 2 more magnets in here, so these will fit in just like this. And that's going to hold your bombs, just like so. They fit in there perfectly. And then if something comes loose, you can just pull them out. And that way I can paint the inside of this and paint the bombs separately, glue them all up, and then insert them. And I can ship these off the plane so they don't fall off and break off. And if they do, you can just pull them out and glue the bombs back on. So solve that issue. All the other stuff's pretty easy. Really nothing else to talk about as far as this goes. Got the bombs all primered up. Well, got this part done, but got the bombs all together. I ended up pulling the plastic. There's these plastic pins that stick out of here. Ended up pulling those out and using some brass tubing. Replaced it with brass tubing, which I think is just going to be a little bit better, and they're not going to break off. So I'm going to start painting those here shortly. But other than the engines, all the main stuff is pretty much ready to go for paint. I will do a separate video on painting the cockpit because I know some people have asked me about that. And I've got the cockpit all together. And normally I don't go this far into putting the cockpits together before I paint them. To be honest with you, you know, you're not going to see as much as you think you are. But we'll get her painted up. I put the chairs in because they only attach with these small little points right here. So I wanted them to be good and glued on there solidly. I didn't want to use super glue or anything else. I wanted to get a real good bond. So I ended up putting those in. I think I can paint around everything. And like I said, you're not going to be able to see much. I am going to have one of the windows open on the glass. Let's see here. The guy that I'm building this for wants to be a pain in the ass and have me open up this window. So I'm going to have to route that out, cut it out with my Dremel tool, and file that out, and then put another piece in there so it looks like it's opened. So you will be able to see a little bit in there, but you know, visibility is not great, to be honest with you, from what I remember doing my last kit. And then I'll make seat belts. I don't like the photo etch seat belts that come with it. So I'll just make my own. So that's where I'm at on this, and I will see you on the next episode when I start to paint stuff. Thanks for watching.